Hi, and welcome to Color Your Home Happy. I'm Justine, founder and creative mind behind Rainbow Shaker, a colorful interior design studio in London. My goal is to spread joy and happiness through the design of cheerful interiors. If, like me, you think that we need a colorful bubble to escape the daily gloom, then this podcast is definitely for you. Each episode, I will be welcoming well-known guests from various colorful backgrounds. You won't find us speaking about the right way to use colors. In this podcast, I want to help you trust your intuition and give you all the confidence you need when designing interiors full of dopamine. Hi everyone, and welcome to another vibrant episode of Color Your Home Happy. I'm Justine, your colorful host from Rainbow Shaker, and today I have the great pleasure of receiving Karen Haller, a recognized name in the color world. She's the UK's leading authority in applied color and design psychology. She's also published The Little Book of Color, which every true color lover should have read. Hi Karen, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's fun being here.
Thank you for coming in my home and for sharing your expertise on color. So in fact, we're sharing kind of a similar background because we kind of started both in a mathematics and far from colorful world. Me as a space engineer, you in the IT department as a project manager and business analyst.
Yep.
How did you end up in the world of color?
Yes, I always say that I had like a double life. So I worked with IT during the day, but in the evenings and on my weekends, that's when I was doing all my creative study because IT allowed me to travel the world, and I really wanted to see the world and I wanted to travel. And so IT was a way that I could, fund to do that. And I studied fashion design. And when I finished that, I thought, no, that's not for me, because it's really a ruthless industry. And I thought, I don't have the stomach for that. And then I went on to study millinery. And it was one evening when I was putting these chocolate brown feathers on a teal blue hat that I had felt and blocked. Just out of nowhere in the class, I just went, oh my God, it's color. And the teacher and everyone said, well, what are you talking about? And I go, I don't know. I honestly don't. It just came out of my mouth. And it's one of those, what I call a sliding doors moment. If you've seen the movie, I could have decided to do nothing with it and just kept doing wherever my life would have gone. But instead, I then went and decided to go on to study color. And that's where it all started, because I went on to every course, every weekend workshop, everything I could get my hands on. But I still had burning questions, because even though I thought, oh, color is just color, I just realized that there was so much more to it. And I really wanted to get under the skin of it, but I didn't know what it was. And it was until when I came to the UK and I did my probably 100th, workshop. And then I was asking the same questions. I was always asking, but that people couldn't answer. And I realize I couldn't answer because it wasn't their area of specialty. But I realized what I was actually wanting to know was something called colour psychology. And I had never heard of it. But I then just went, oh my God, this is it. Because it's really about humans and human behavior and how colour influences and can affect our behavior and everything to do with that. And about colour and nature. Yeah. And then that's when I went on to learn about colour and design psychology. And from then on, that's when I just went, oh, goodbye IT, goodbye business world. This is it. I finally, and I was on that quest to try and find what it was for probably 10, 15, 20 years. I was just searching and searching and searching, because even in high school, I was doing lots of arts and crafts and still thinking, oh, this isn't it. So I was searching for a long, long time for something that I had no idea what I was searching for. So I'm very tenacious. I don't give up. I'm one of these people who, they say like a dog with a bone, I do not let go until I've worked out what it is. And so that was a very, very long quest, but yeah.
And you're also very curious. You want to know more about the topic. You want to learn everything there is to know.
Oh, yeah. I devour. But I don't just devour information, because that just stays information, and knowledge just stays knowledge, right? It's applying it. So that's why I say that I'm an applied colour design psychology.
You're not a colour psychologist. We cannot call you colour psychologist.
No, and they don't exist.
Yeah.
Colour psychologist, colour psychology as a degree does not exist, and anyone that calls them that is, in my view, is misleading. So people call me an expert. I call myself a specialist, but that is what I focus on. But I apply it to real life. I apply it to my corporate clients, to my personal clients, to the interior clients. It's about taking the information, because that's all it ever is. It's just interesting. But the real learning starts with anything, as you know, you're doing your interior design work, the real learning starts once you start actually doing the work. Once you start putting it into practice, then you fall into every hole. Then you just to me, it's not a mistake, but you make mistake after mistake after mistake. And that's where you start learning.
Yeah.
So
completely.
Even though I had learned colour and design psychology from my teacher, I had no idea how to apply it, because from her, I learnt the theory. So it was a year of learning the theory. It was then, my God, well, how do I use this? So then I started creating all my frameworks, all my processes. A lot of that is in the book, from trial and error of everything that I'd gone through, basically just falling over, getting up again, falling over, getting up again. Not how I use it for corporate clients, but because the book is for the everyday person.
Yeah, I think it's just a kind of scientific approach, like trying, experimenting, having hypotheses, trying them, and then it works great. It doesn't work, then maybe you can find something else or discover more.
Yeah, and even if it does work, my brain is, I want to break it. Right. I love breaking things. I love breaking things. So if somebody gives me a framework, or someone tells me, I'll do it this way, I then just naturally can spot the gaps. I can naturally find the holes. So even if I come up with, even with all my theories that I've come up with, you probably would know about confirmation bias.
Yeah.
So I don't go and try and find things that will prove it, because the idea with anything to do with science, or anything to do with any kind of framework or process that you put together, the idea is to try and break it, because if you can break it, it means you can make it better. So I'm always trying to break everything I do. Even with all my teachings for my students, my design students, anybody, is because then I can be better for them, because they don't have to go through the same mistakes that I went through. Yeah. They can basically start from this point, because I've made all the mistakes. I've tried to break it, and I'm always improving things and finding better ways to do things. Yeah, it is a very analytical mind, but then it's this wonderful mix. And because with your background of a space engineer, which just blows my mind, that an interior design, it just shows that you can come from any career. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what you've learned beforehand. Every single thing that you've learned, because I've studied child psychology, I've studied branding, interior design, fashion design, millinery, loads of stuff. And I thought, how is this all going to come together? Like, what am I going to do with this? But everything you've learned, like even my business analyst skills, my project managing skills, every single thing you've learned,
you're using them.
You use it. You use it, because that's what makes what you do unique, and it's your own special blend. Yeah. You will come to interior design from your background, and you will have a unique slant, and already in your home, I can just see the way that you've designed it. There is not a millimeter that is not used. Like, you just have used every single inch in space
to express myself.
Yeah, which is brilliant. Like, the fact that you said that you designed your circular staircase, I'm just like, what? So yeah, I mean, nothing gets lost. Nothing gets lost. So you dress a lot brighter than I ever would, right? Because of my personality already being quite Tigger-like personality. When I'm hanging out with my friends and stuff, they always say, oh, Karen, you're as mad as a box of frogs, because I'm mucking around and being mischievous and everything. So that's already in itself quite colourful. If you see that kind of energy and that personality, if I then wore really bright colours, I would be bouncing off the roof, and energy-wise, I'd be exhausted. Yeah. So I tend to wear softer colours. That kind of grounds me a bit more, and I feel more comfortable. But then I've got
bring it to you.
Oh my God, I'm going to take it all back. I came today wearing Kermit the Frog, right? The brightest green coat. But then underneath, I have quite a soft pink, but I could take this off. Right, that's probably the big thing, is that I can take this off. But if I was in bright coloured clothes and I wore them all day, by the end of the day, I'd be exhausted.
Yes.
So that's why it's all personal. You know, we choose the colours, we choose the intensity of the colours. And that's also for our home. We might find that in our home, we love a lot of colour, but we might want the softer and more soothing end, which is less saturated.
Yeah.
Or we might love them with a mix of vibrant and saturated colours, because that's the more stimulating. And what I mean by softer and stimulating is it's emotionally stimulating or emotionally soothing. It's a bit like, I always use the example of a radio. We can either turn the music down so it's really soft, or you can turn it right up and it's really, really loud. So this pink is, I've got the radio turned down, and this green, I've got the radio up.
For me, the way I'm dressing and I'm putting my colors is because along my life as an engineer, when you're a woman, sometimes men tries to shut you down, and color helped me regain my voice. Like, I'm here. I'm maybe small, I'm maybe a woman, but I'm here, and I have, my voice is as important as all of you. I think also it helped me connect to myself and also kind of deal with this issue that I was having.
Yeah. So did you wear a lot of color when you were still working?
No. In fact, when I started going to the professional world, I was wearing suits, gray. At some point towards the end, I started to have more and more colors on me. And I saw that it helped me when I was in a meeting and say, listen to me, those are my ideas. And it helped me gain more confidence also in myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it comes to my question. So what's color psychology?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, just really quickly, colour psychology, and this is my take on it, is the study of how colour influences how we think, how we feel, and how we behave. The most important thing is how we behave, because, you know, in design school, everyone gets taught about mood, a mood board, right? And, you know, everyone's now talking about, creating a feeling in the room, but you can't see a mood and you can't see a feeling. I can't see what mood or what feeling you're in, but I can see from your behavior. And the behaviors is something that we can see. We can't see a mood or a feeling. We can see the behaviors. So the way that I teach, because I teach design professionals colour and design psychology and colour harmony, I always say to them, we start with the end in mind. What are the behaviours that your client wants to see in the space? And you design to create those positive behaviours, because that's how you can measure it. You can measure a behaviour. You can't measure a mood or a feeling. But when you see them behaving in that way that they wanted, that's how you know that you've done your job. Because, I like it. Oh, yeah, it's nice. Or wow. Or, oh, it's beautiful. That's their reactions now. But long term, can they live in that? Long term, does it serve them? Are the colours that you've got in the space, in any given room, is it serving them in a positive way for their mental health and their well-being? Is it for the longevity? Also with sustainability. So my whole thing is that start from the end, then you work backwards, and you can actually measure it.
So I love travels. I take a lot of inspiration during travels. So I push my clients to, when they want to design a home or a space, to share with the other people that are in the home their cherished memory, like what did they like in this memory? How did that make them feel? And then from that, it helps them as well finding like the right words to how they want to feel in the space. My favorite travel I did was going to Brazil, because I saw color quite differently there. And I was like, oh, I want to have a bit of Brazil into my home, but a Brazil that is still me. So that's why I did a collaboration with Molly Mural for mastering, and I took inspiration from Brazil street mural art. I feel like I'm traveling to Brazil, but it's still me.
And so the important thing there too is that you pick a memory, and then the colors that you use that will create the behavior that you want. Because you could pick a memory and it's a great memory, but it's not right for the context of that space. It always comes then back down to, is it the right behavior, because if you created that fun loving or fun party atmosphere, but you put it in your bedroom and you're trying to sleep, do you know what I mean? So always still comes down to the behaviors and making sure that you're getting the right psychological behaviors, not just from a color, but the combination of colors that you use, because we never see color in isolation. So it's all the colors. And then it's the tones, the color harmony, the way that they all harmonize together. So the color family, and then whether it's the soothing end or saturation or, you know, a mix, the proportion, because sometimes you can use a color, a small amount of it you'll feel positive, but you put too much in and all of a sudden you go, I'm not feeling good with this because the proportion of that color is too much, and you could start feeling the negative side of the color psychology. So there's a lot of sort of moving parts. And I suppose if someone's, you know, listening and thinking, well, what am I supposed to do? If you do nothing more than just really go with your gut feel, you know, if you don't read the book, you don't do a course, you don't study, you don't do anything, just go with what feels right for you and start working out when you're thinking, oh, okay, I've put in too much blue in this room because all of a sudden it's not feeling right. So an example I always give is, just because you've got a whole family box of chocolates, just eat one. But if you eat the whole lot, you could start feeling sick. Do you know what I mean? Because you've overdone it. Even white, everything's a color, but they put in too much saturation. So just be mindful of when that's happening, and, you know, only you will know when it's too much for you.
Totally. As you said, there is no one right equation of color that will work for everybody. For me, when I'm designing with my clients, I always tell them that design works on your own personal journey. And I think as you do with business owner, with color for the branding, a home, it can also be interpreted that way, because when you're designing your space, you're telling your space story and your story in the same way. I also work on circulation diagram. It's very important to know how you live in that space. When you're moving into a new space, you have to adapt first into your space to know how you will behave and then design accordingly. For me, when I wake up, I want my kitchen to wake me up, and then I move on to my office. But sometimes I want to focus, and sometimes I'm too focused, so I want something that is a bit more soothing. So I'm gonna create different areas. It's not using colors for using colors.
Not just for the sake of it.
Yeah,
because that's just throwing a whole lot of stuff around, and then it's completely chaotic. The colors are influencing us all the time. We just don't realize it. And if we've just thrown up colors because, I don't know, they're on trend or your friend's got it or whatever, you just saw it in a magazine, then they're still influencing your behavior. You might not always realize it. And then that's not serving you. I had this phrase, you know, create a home that you love and loves you back, because we spend so much time in our homes. So why not have a home that you love? Why create a home or decorate it for somebody else to love it, or that someone else says, oh, isn't that great? Or that you put it on Instagram and you want everyone else to think it's not going to work. No, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. And I think I'm seeing a lot of people saying this, is that they feel now compelled, especially those that design and put it all on Instagram, they feel compelled that they have to constantly change their home in order for it to keep refreshing on Instagram. That's not good. So at the time of this recording, so I'm just going to say it's February 2024, I've lived in my place for 2.5 years. It's rental, so I can't change anything. But my landlady has very kindly said you can paint whatever you want and do whatever you want. I bought paint last October. I had the colour specially made. It's still in the tin. But now, like February, March is when I want to paint up my living room. And I know that once I've done that and I put it on Instagram, people will just go, oh, well, you're meant to be a colour expert. Your room is rubbish. And I'm fine with that. And I'll go, great, because if you think this is rubbish, that means it gets you clearer to know what you do like. I didn't do this for you to like it or you to approve it or for you to even say, oh, my God, that's amazing. No, I'm showing this that you do what you love, and that you do it to reflect your own personality. And if you don't like this, then if that gets you a step closer to what you do like, job done. And I don't want anyone from your listening to go on and just go, oh yeah, Karen, we said we wouldn't like it. Yeah, we don't like it.
Sometimes people are more prone to say what they don't like,
Yes,
and then what they like.
It's
not so
harder.
much. Yeah.
When I work with clients, oh, do you want to come up? Right, let's have this schnookens come up. Oh, you are going to love this. What's her name?
Geisha.
Geisha, right. There you go. We've got Geisha joining us. So with my clients, when I ask them, what colors do they like? What do they connect with? Or what does something, what's their favorite color? What does it mean to them? They really struggle. But when I say to them, oh,
she's making so much noise.
Oh, because she's purring so loudly. But they're very, very clear on what they don't like. And so quite often I do start from that premise of what you don't like, because we can then get that out of the way. And it's not to say what you like and don't like, because that's what goes in your scheme, but it's more to have that initial conversation, just to connect them with color and connect them with themselves. And I quite often start with that. But yeah, people will know far more what they don't like. They do.
Can you say what emotion can color trigger?
So every color has like a defined or a set group of positive and adverse traits connected to it. And the lighter version will have different kind of traits to what the darker version. So quite often people always say blue is restful, right? But that's a soft light blue because it's soothing. A turquoise blue is not restful. Yeah. Right? In colour psychology, it's not restful. A dark blue is stimulating. It is not restful. So it depends on the colour and on the saturation of that colour as to what, in colour psychology terms, what the traits are. So a light blue, so blue's around the mind, right? And so a light blue will help, doesn't always, this isn't black and white, a light blue will help to soothe the mind because it's light and it's soothing because it's low chroma, and blue's to do with the mind. So it helps to soothe the mind. Yeah. A dark blue, like a navy, a midnight blue, a dark teal blue, for the majority of people, it will stimulate the mind. So people that have had dark blue in their bedrooms have said to me, I've got dark blue, it's meant to be soothing, and I'm not sleeping well. And I said, well, and I explain it to them, they go, oh, okay, that's what's going on. Yeah. So people quite often will take something and just make a very blanket statement, and they think that all color is equal. They think all blues are the same. Yeah. All greens are the same. Lime green is not restful. No. That is absolutely I call that like the alter ego of green, right? It is just the jack in the box of greens. And I think the more you realize that all colors, all blues are different, greens, reds, pinks. You have a very soft pink like I've got, which is physically soothing. Yeah. A magenta pink is physically stimulating, just like a red. So it's understanding and knowing that, to then knowing what kind of colors to use and understanding the impact and the effect that it has. Yeah, completely. I see, for example, like in the mural I have on the ceiling, I have kind of this teal blue, and every time I look at it, I have this like physical reaction where my eyes are just focusing on this. But when I look at the blue electric, it gives me a completely different emotion and not the physical response that I have with the teal blue. So color is really a powerful tool, and it affects also our physical reaction. Yep, absolutely. So before, when I was saying that color psychology is the study of how we think, feel, and behave, what we're doing is we're taking in the wavelengths of light, right? All the wavelengths. Our eyes and the behind are making the kind of the calculation, and that is what's sending a trigger to the hypothalamus, which then that governs our appetite, our sleeping, our sexual organs, body temperature, everything. So that's why when we see red, and they say, seeing red is about anger, because when we're around a lot of red, we are then physically stimulated. Yeah. We can get a lot of energy, a lot of motion, when we see red, because we want to, it's like that call to action. It's that get up and go. We want to move and be physical. If you have too much red, we can go into overwhelm, and we can get tired, and we can get drained, and we can be exhausted. So whatever the positive is of a color, there will be the opposite reaction on the adverse side. So that's why we say all color is not equal when it comes to how we feel about it. I felt also what you said about the red. A lot of people are saying, oh, when a woman is dressing in red, she's like this powerful woman, she has confidence. And so I was always, when I started to experiment with color, having a lot of red, but I couldn't feel really comfortable every time with it. So when I'm using red, I'm finding it quite soothing for me to balance it with pink. It's given me also
also this warmth, because I'm just not only into the action every
Power,
time.
yeah.
I'm more warmth,
Yeah.
empathetics,
Yeah.
and I need also this pink with the...
Yeah, and the pink is balancing your behavior and how you're feeling. My red is a watermelon red, so a really, 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 really soft red, which is really hard to find. I've only been able to find it in tea towels. Can you believe it? I still don't have any watermelon red clothes. But if I was to wear a fire engine red or one of those really bright reds, it would harden my face and it would absolutely exhaust me. And people would just think, oh, she's not approachable. A lot of women, when they're on stage or when they're, giving a talk, they want all the eyes on them. So, because red is the color that our eye gets drawn towards the quickest because of the wavelengths of light. So it's the color that we see. And of course, if someone is on the stage and there's thousands of people, there's no doubt you won't miss them. But also they might not come across as friendly and approachable if they're not wearing the right red or they're wearing head to toe red. And ultimately it could end up exhausting them. If I'm in that red in a home, like if someone's got a really like a fire engine red sofa, oh, I'm exhausted. Yeah, it's not a colour that I can really be around for a long period of time. So if anyone finds colours that tire them out, like especially grey, if it's a pure black and white grey, and in the book I think I've got a story in there that I went to a cafe to meet a friend and I rushed in because I was late and I sat there and I thought, oh no, it's all grey. I could feel it was calming and quieting me down, but really what pure black and white grey does for the majority of people, we think we're being calmed, but it's actually beginning to drain us. And then we start to feel more and more tired. And it got to the point where I said to my friend, I said, I can't stay here. I was physically yawning. I was so tired and so drained from sitting in there. And yet she loved it because her personality is very different to mine. And she just cruised, she cruised through it. And I just went, oh, I've got to go. I said, can we go somewhere else? I was like, can we go somewhere else? Because, we were supposed to be working and I just, couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. No, I was there for a few hours. Went, no, I've reached my limit. I said, otherwise, my brain shut off, everything, that I could just put my head down and go to sleep. That's how tired I was. We went somewhere else and I was fine.
So do you have any more tips for listeners who wants to experiment with color and apply color in their home?
Yeah, so I think from what I was saying before, my first tip is to always think about what behaviors you want in the space.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be quite difficult. It's like, what do you mean? So what would you be doing in your space to know that you felt the way that you wanted to feel? So if you wanted to have a bathroom that helped you wake up in the morning, how would you want to feel in that space? And what would you be doing to know that you had those feelings? And that's the behavior. So what would you be doing? And then there will be colors that will help support you to think, feel, and behave in that way. Because some people want a relaxing bathroom, some people want an energizing bathroom, so that's the first thing about behaviors. The second one is the context, like what room it's in. So for instance, the bathroom.
Yeah.
And then I would also look at the proportion of colors that you're using. So the combination of colors, but also the proportion you're using. So you might want to put in a turquoise. So a turquoise helps to wake the mind.
Yeah.
And also if you use a blue light helps to wake the mind. If you just go and paint the whole thing turquoise, you might walk in with the blue and just go, whoa, this is too overwhelming.
Yeah.
So think about the proportion of colors that you're using and the combination of colors that you're using it with to create how you want to respond in that space. And you know that you've got it right when you do walk in and you think, the way that I am here, what I'm doing, the way that I'm feeling, the way that I'm responding, reacting is this is right. So this is probably my top tips.
You were also saying that, in fact, we don't consider enough the lighting in different spaces. Like, for example, here in my living room, I have the big windows.
Yeah, a lot of natural light.
Yeah, I have those natural lights. And in my bathroom, I don't have any light, so it's all artificial. So we have to also use colors accordingly also to the lighting that is in the room.
Well, yeah, I always say that color is light. So without light, we can't see color.
Yeah.
So it's getting the light right to show the color.
So it's the other way.
Yeah, that's the way that I would do it, is that you pick the colors that you love and then you have the lighting that will show the colors.
Yeah.
And it's whether it's lighting from the top, from below. It's the direction of the light and where the light is placed that will make all the difference.
Yeah, it's like color is on the stage and you're trying to highlight it.
Yeah. The one thing that I find really interesting is that people don't realize that as light shifts, the color shifts. I've spent a lot of time with clients explaining to them color will not look the same in the morning, midday, and afternoon if you are using a light source that is shifting, because as soon as the light source shifts, the color will also shift. And they go, no, I want it the same. And I go, the only way you can do the same is like your bathroom. Have no natural light that comes in. And you can, force through artificial lighting exactly that look. But if you're expecting the natural light to be shifting during the day and then you're expecting the color to stay the same, it's never, ever, ever going to happen. The other thing is to know what's going on out in the world, but don't rely on it. And even the trend forecasters say, we don't put out trends for you to slavishly follow. They say we put them out there to inspire you. So for instance, at the moment, Pantone colour of the year is fuzzy peach. And that's a peach colour that's slightly dirty, because I know my primary personality is spring and I know my secondary is winter, but that's, all in the book. That particular colour is not the right peach for me. So if I actually want to use a peach, I go and I think, oh, I really love that colour, but I know it's not right for me. I will find one that is a spring peach, that's got the clarity and that's clear and that doesn't have that dirty kind of muddy look to it. So you can look to see what's out there, but if it's not the right colour for you, find one that is. So if dusty blue is in fashion, or someone's got a dusty blue colour and go, gosh, I really, really love that for my bedroom, but what I'll take instead, I'll take a light blue, but instead I'll go for a sky blue because I know that's my blue. Do you know what I mean? So don't just pick what everyone else has got. If you really do love a scheme that someone's put together and you think, gosh, that's exactly what I'm looking for, because that is how I want to feel and behave in the space like that. But then look to see which are your colours. And do that.
And is there any tools that our listeners could use, for example, in your book or in your blog?
So in the book, there's lots of frameworks. There's lots of little, like 3 or 4 point steps that people can go through. Even when because one of the biggest things is couples with personalities, and I call it the personality struggle, where you're seemingly at odds. But I've got a process in there to work it out, or to start to unravel that and start to have the conversation so that you can find where the common ground is, and then you can design for the commonality.
For me, the book really also helped me when I designed the space with my husband.
Fabulous.
I know he trusts me, but as you may have seen him dress, and we are completely different personality. Is soothing me because
it grounds you.
And I'm more of the exuberant. So it's really helpful because we know how hard it is to design a space when you're two or a family and you have different color preferences, different hobbies, you like different things. So it's really hard.
But they all, say opposites attract, but there's a commonality in there, and it's finding what that is.
As we're coming to the end of the episode, is there any way our listeners can contact you or follow you?
Oh, thank you. So on Instagram, it's Karen_Huller_colour. And then I've got the littlebookofcolour.com website, and you can download the first chapter for free. And then for any designers listening, I have my other website, which is karenhuller.com, and there is a free ebook that they can download about colour.
We've reached the end of our episode. Thank you, Karen, for being here. It was a real pleasure, and for sharing your expertise on colors.
Oh, thank you. It's an absolute pleasure being here. It's lots of fun. So thank you for having me.
And I hope you listeners also liked it and you understood a bit more about colors and the effect it can have on yourself. And don't be afraid to experiment, as we both said. Talk soon on another colorful episode. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, don't hesitate to subscribe, rate, or review on the different listening platforms. To say hello and get all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at rainbow.shaker. And if you want to check out my services, you can go to my website www.rainbowshaker.com. Thanks again, and I wish you all a very colorful day. See you next time!